The night was quiet. Stars filled the dark sky above the forest. Dr. Kim Tai-ho walked alone on a narrow path, using his flashlight to guide his way. As a wildlife scientist, Tai-ho often spent weeks in these mountains, studying animals and plants. Tonight felt different. Something bright cut across the sky, leaving a trail of light. It wasn't a shooting star. It moved too slowly and was too bright. Tai-ho watched as it disappeared behind the trees, followed by a distant crash. Strange, he whispered to himself. Should he investigate? It was late, and his small cabin was still an hour's walk away. But curiosity pulled at him. Tai-ho changed direction, moving toward where he thought the object had fallen. The forest grew thicker, and he had to push through bushes and climb over fallen trees. His heart beat faster as he saw a faint glow ahead. The clearing appeared suddenly. Trees had been knocked down in a circle. In the center sat a metal object about the size of a small car. It was sleek and silver with no wings or wheels. Smoke rose from one side where the metal was damaged. Not from Earth, Tai-ho said quietly, his mind racing. He should leave, call someone. But who? The government? The military? They would take over, lock down the area. His scientific instinct wanted to learn more first. He moved closer, stepping carefully. The object had no visible door or window. As he circled it, he found a crack in the damaged section. Inside was darkness. Tai-ho hesitated, then shined his flashlight through the opening. Something moved inside. "Hello?" he called, knowing it was probably pointless. A soft sound answered, like a groan of pain. Tai-ho made his decision. He pulled at the cracked metal, widening the opening enough to fit through. The inside was small, filled with strange lights and controls. And there, slumped in what looked like a seat, was a person. No, not a person. The being was shaped like a human, but different. Its skin was pale with a slight blue glow. Its face was delicate, with features that reminded Tai-ho of a woman, but with 3 eyes, 2 normal ones, and a third in the center of the forehead. Its hair was silver and flowed like water. The alien was hurt. A dark blue liquid, blood, soaked its strange clothing. One arm was bent at an odd angle. When Tai-ho's light touched its face, all 3 eyes opened. They were deep purple with no white parts. The alien tried to move away but cried out in pain. "I won't hurt you," Tai-ho said, putting down his flashlight and raising his empty hands. "I'm a friend. Friend." He pointed to himself. Tai-ho. The alien watched him carefully. After a moment, it spoke in a voice like soft music. The words made no sense. Tai-ho pointed to the injuries. "You're hurt. I can help." He took out his first aid kit. The alien followed his movements but didn't try to stop him. Tai-ho worked carefully, cleaning the blue blood from a deep cut on the alien's side. He wrapped it with bandages, which the alien studied with interest. The broken arm was harder. Tai-ho found 2 straight metal pieces from the crash and made a splint. The alien winced but remained still. When he finished, the alien spoke again. This time, it pointed to itself. "Rena. Rena," Tai-ho repeated. "Is that your name?" The alien, Rena, seemed to understand the question and nodded once. "You can't stay here," Tai-ho said, looking around. "People will come. Bad people, maybe." He made a walking motion with his fingers, then pointed outside. "My home. Safe." Rena looked at the damaged ship, then back at Tai-ho. She tried to stand but swayed weakly. Tai-ho caught her before she fell. She was lighter than he expected, and her skin was cool to the touch. She stiffened at first, then relaxed. "Can you walk?" he asked. Rena tried again, leaning on him. Each step seemed painful, but she was determined. Together, they left the ship and entered the dark forest. The journey to Tai-ho's cabin would take twice as long with the injured alien, but he couldn't leave her to be found by others. As they walked slowly through the trees, Tai-ho realized his life had just changed forever. He had discovered an alien A female alien, apparently, and was taking her home. What would happen next? Would her people come looking for her? Would Earth's authorities find them? Rena stumbled, and Taiho held her more firmly. One step at a time, he told himself. First, get her somewhere safe. Then figure out the rest. Taiho's cabin stood alone in the forest clearing. It was small but clean, with one main room and a tiny bathroom. He helped Rena inside and guided her to his bed. Rest here, he said, though he knew she couldn't understand his words. He pointed to the bed and made a sleeping motion. Rena sat carefully, examining the room with all three eyes. Her middle eye seemed to focus independently from the other two, studying details the others missed. She touched the blanket, feeling its texture. Taiho boiled water and made tea. He wasn't sure if Rena could drink human beverages, but he offered her a cup anyway. She sniffed it, then took a small sip. Her expression changed to what Taiho thought might be surprise, then pleasure. Good? He asked, mimicking drinking and smiling. Rena nodded and took another sip. For 3 days, they existed in careful balance. Rena slept most of the time, her body healing quickly. Taiho gave her his bed and slept on a mat on the floor. He changed her bandages twice daily, noticing that her wounds were closing faster than a human's would. On the 4th morning, Taiho woke to find Rena sitting at his table, drawing on a piece of paper. She had found his notebook and pencils. Her drawing showed a star system with 7 planets. She pointed to the 3rd one, then to herself. That's your home? Taiho asked. Rena nodded. She drew Earth next, with remarkable accuracy, then made a line connecting the 2 worlds. The line had a break in it. She pointed to the break, then to herself, making a falling motion with her hand. You crashed. You're stranded, Taiho said, understanding. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence, middle, left, right. She drew a ship, then made a question mark. I don't know where your ship is now, Taiho admitted. People might have found it. They developed a system of drawing and gestures. Taiho learned that Rena was a scientist like him, studying different worlds. Her people had visited Earth before but stayed hidden, watching humans from a distance. Rena's arm healed completely in just 1 week. The cut on her side left no scar. Her strength returned quickly, and soon she was helping Taiho with daily tasks. She figured out how the stove worked faster than he could explain it. She fixed his broken radio in minutes. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Rena took Taiho's hand. Her touch sent a warm feeling up his arm. She placed his palm against her chest, where he felt a strange rhythm, not like a human heartbeat, but steady and strong. Then she touched his chest, feeling his heart. Different, Taiho said, but both alive. Rena smiled. It was the first time he had seen her do that. It changed her face completely, making her look less alien and more like someone he could understand. The next day, Taiho showed Rena his research. He had books about plants and animals, and notebooks filled with his observations. Rena studied, everything with intense interest. When she found his camera, she figured out how to use it immediately. They walked in the forest together. Taiho pointed out different plants and animals, naming each one. Rena made sounds that must have been their names in her language. Her voice sounded like music, with tones Taiho had never heard before. At a stream, Rena knelt and put her hand in the water. Fish swam toward her instead of away. She stayed perfectly still as a small fish touched her fingers. Then she looked at Taiho with all 3 eyes and smiled again. That night a storm came. Rain hit the cabin roof hard and lightning filled the sky. Rena stood at the window watching with wonder. Each lightning flash lit up her face. She wasn't afraid. She seemed fascinated. When thunder shook the cabin, Rena made a sound like laughter. She took Taiho's hand and pulled him to the window. Together they watched the storm, her cool hand in his warm one. Later, as they sat by the fire, Rena took out a small device from her pocket. It was round and silver with lights that changed color. She pressed something and a hologram appeared between them, a 3D image of the stars turning slowly in the air. Taiho watched in amazement as Rena moved her hands through the stars, making them bigger or smaller. She pointed to one area, then to herself. "Your home is so far away," Taiho said quietly. Rena looked at him, all three eyes focused on his face. She reached out and touched his cheek gently. In that moment, something changed between them. They were no longer just two different beings sharing space. They were forming a connection that went beyond words. 2 weeks passed in the small cabin. Taiho and Rena had created a routine together. Each morning they shared breakfast, then worked on communication. Rena learned Korean words quickly, while Taiho tried to understand her musical language. One morning, Rena pointed to her neck. She pressed a small spot behind her ear, and a thin device appeared. It had been hidden under her skin. "What is that?" Taiho asked, leaning closer. Rena placed the device on the table. It was silver and shaped like a teardrop. She touched it in several places, and it glowed blue. Then she spoke in her language, and the device hummed. "This translator," broken in crash, the device said in a flat voice. "Now fixed, we talk better." Taiho's eyes widened. "You fixed it, this is amazing." The device translated his words into Rena's language. Her three eyes brightened with what seemed like happiness. "My name is Rena of the Han clan," she said through the translator. "I am a life scientist from the world Sora." "I'm Kim Taeho, wildlife biologist from Earth," he replied, smiling widely. "I have so many questions." They talked for hours. Taeho learned that Rena's people, the Soran, had been watching Earth for over 200 years. They were peaceful explorers who studied other worlds but rarely made direct contact. "Why stay hidden?" Taiho asked. "Young species often fear different ones," Rena explained. "Your people fight each other over small differences. How would they react to us?" Taeho nodded. "You're probably right, but not all humans are the same." "I see this now," Rena said, looking at him with all three eyes. "You helped me when others might have called your military." After lunch, Taiho showed Rena his books, music player, and computer. She studied everything with great interest, particularly his photos of wildlife. "These animals, similar to ancient ones on Sora," she said, pointing to pictures of deer. "Our worlds have connections." Rena used her own device to show Taiho images of her world. Sora had 3 moons and a pink sky. The buildings were tall and curved, made of materials that changed color with the light. Plants grew everywhere, on buildings, roads, and vehicles. "We live with nature, not separate," she explained. That evening, Rena taught Taiho about Soran food. Using plants she had found in the forest, she made a meal that tasted like nothing he had ever experienced, sweet, spicy, and refreshing all at once. "Our bodies need different things," she said, "but we can share some foods." After dinner, they sat outside watching the stars. Taiho played music on his small radio. Rena listened carefully to each song, her head tilted. Human music uses simple patterns, she observed, but beautiful. "Can you share your music?" Taiho asked. Rena touched her device again. Sounds filled the air, complex melodies that seemed to move around them. It made Taiho feel like he was floating. "This is our spring song," Rena explained. "It tells the story of life returning after cold." When the music ended, Taiho felt tears in his eyes, though he wasn't sad. "Thank you for sharing that," he said softly. Rena moved closer to him on the bench. "My people have tradition. When we meet someone new who understands our music, it means our spirits match." "Match? Like we're similar?" "More than similar. Connected. My people believe some souls recognize each other across the stars." Taiho felt his heart beat faster. "That sounds like what some Earth people call destiny." "Yes. Finding someone whose spirit completes yours." Rena's middle eye focused on him intently. "Rare between different worlds." She took his hand and placed it against her neck. Under his fingers, Taiho felt a gentle pulse, her blood flowing in a pattern similar to the music he had just heard. "Among my people, this means deep connection," she said quietly. Taiho hesitated, then placed her hand against his own neck. Is this how your people show it? Yes. First step of bonding. All three of her eyes seemed to glow more brightly. You understand?
Quickly, Taiho.
Under the stars they sat with hands on each other's necks, feeling the different but somehow harmonious rhythms of their bodies. Something was happening between them that went beyond words or species or worlds. What happens next? Taiho asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We learn if our bond is true, Rena answered. If it is, nothing in the universe will break it. The night wrapped around them like a blanket, full of stars and possibilities neither had imagined before they met. The peaceful days ended suddenly. Taiho woke to the sound of helicopter blades cutting through the morning air. He jumped from his sleeping mat and rushed to the window. Rena, wake up, he said urgently. Someone's coming. Rena was already alert, her three eyes fully open. She joined him at the window as a military helicopter circled above the trees. They found your ship, Taiho said. They must have tracked its energy to this area. Rena's translator device hummed. Yes, my craft has unique energy signature. Easy to track if you know what to look for. We need to leave, Taiho said, grabbing his backpack. He quickly filled it with food, water, and first aid supplies. Rena collected her few belongings, her translator and the small star-projecting device. She touched Taiho's arm. There is something I must tell you first. Tell me as we walk, he replied, hearing vehicles approaching on the distant road. They slipped, out the back door and into the forest. Taiho knew these woods well. He led Rena up a hidden path that climbed steeply into the mountains. They moved quickly, staying under the cover of trees. My mission here was not just scientific, Rena said as they climbed. My people face great danger. What kind of danger? Taiho asked, helping her over a fallen tree. We are dying, she said simply. A disease spreads among us. Our scientists call it cellular degradation. Each generation becomes weaker. They stopped by a small stream to drink water. The helicopter sound had faded, but Taiho knew they couldn't rest long. Is there no cure? He asked. Rena's middle eye focused on him while her other eyes watched their surroundings. We need new genetic material. Our population is too similar. We need diversity. Taiho thought for a moment. You're looking for compatible species? Is that why you came to Earth? Yes. Many worlds were studied. Earth showed promise. She touched his hand. Especially you, Taiho. Me? What do you mean? When I scanned you while healing, I found your genetic structure has rare compatibility with mine. 1 in billions. All three of her eyes glowed more brightly. The bonding we started is not just cultural, it is biological. Taiho tried to process this information. So your people sent you to find compatible species to, what? Take samples? Not just samples, Rena said. To find mates. Before Taiho could respond, they heard voices below. Men were following their trail. They continued climbing until they reached a cave Taiho knew about. It was hidden behind bushes and offered shelter from both pursuit and the coming rain. Inside the cave, Taiho built a small fire. As night fell, rain began to pour outside, helping to hide them further. Tell me more about this compatibility, Taiho said finally. What does it mean? Rena sat beside him. Among my people, bonding is forever. When we find someone whose pattern matches ours, we join not just bodies, but minds and spirits, like marriage, deeper than your marriage. Our cells actually change to match each other. We become biologically linked. She looked into the fire. It was only theory that this could happen with another species, until I met you. Taiho was silent, for a moment. And this would help your people survive? Yes. Our scientists believe new genetic patterns could stop the degradation. Children of such unions would be stronger. She touched his face gently. But I must tell you something else, something dangerous. What is it? I am not the only one sent to Earth. Others came before me. Some were captured by your military. Her voice became sad. They were not treated well. Taiho's stomach tightened. They were hurt? Yes. Studied. Cut open. Rena's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress Taiho had learned. My people planned to abandon Earth as too dangerous, but then my ship crashed and you found me. And now your people think you've been captured too, Taiho realized. Yes. They will send rescue soon. But they may also send warriors to free those captured. She took his hands. If that happens, your world will see us as invaders. Outside, the rain fell harder. In the distance, they heard men calling to each other. We have to stop that from happening, Taiho said firmly. We need to contact your people. My communication device was in my ship. Rena looked worried. The one your military now has. Then we need to get it back, Taiho said, his mind racing with possibilities. Or find another way to send a message. They sat close together in the firelight, their hands still joined. Outside, soldiers searched in the rain, getting closer to their hiding place. Time was running out for both of them, and possibly for both their worlds. For 3 days, Taiho and Rena stayed hidden in the mountains. They moved only at night, avoiding the soldiers who searched the forest. Rena's third eye could see heat signatures, helping them spot patrols before being discovered. On the 4th night, they reached a high ridge overlooking a new military camp. Spotlights illuminated a large tent in the center. Inside, Taiho could see Rena's damaged ship. They're studying it, he whispered, and looking for you. We must reach my communication device, Rena said. It's our only hope to contact my people before they attack. Taiho studied the camp. There's too much security. We need a different plan. Rena touched her translator device. My ship's emergency beacon can be activated remotely. If I can get close enough, I can send a special signal. What kind of signal? One that tells my people I am safe with an ally. She looked at Taiho. That Earth is not an enemy. They waited until midnight when the camp was quietest. Using the cover of trees, they approached the perimeter. Guards walked with flashlights, but their patterns were predictable. There, Rena whispered, pointing to a small building near the main tent. Power generator. If I can reach it, I can use its energy to boost my signal. Taiho nodded. I'll create a distraction on the other side of camp. Dangerous for you, Rena said, her eyes showing concern. Worth it. He squeezed her hand. Meet? Back at the cave if we get separated. Taiho circled around the camp. He found the fuel storage area and, using matches from his pack, set a small fire in the brush nearby. Then he ran to a different position and did the same thing. Alarms sounded. Guards ran toward the fires shouting. In the confusion, Rena slipped through the shadows toward the generator. Taiho watched as she reached it and placed her hands on the metal box. Her skin began to glow more brightly as she absorbed energy. Then she held up her small device and pressed it against the generator. A pulse of blue light shot upward into the night sky, invisible to human eyes, but Taiho saw how Rena watched it rise with satisfaction. Freeze! A guard's voice shouted. A spotlight found Rena. Taiho didn't hesitate. He ran from his hiding place straight toward her. More lights turned their way. Guns were raised. Don't shoot, Taiho yelled, placing himself between Rena and the Fee. Guards. She's peaceful. We all are. The soldiers surrounded them. Rena stood tall, her 3 eyes unblinking as she faced the humans. She reached for Taiho's hand and held it firmly. I am Rena of Sora, she said through her translator. I come in peace. Hours later, they sat in an interrogation room. Military officers and government officials questioned them endlessly. Taiho explained how he had found Rena, how they had communicated, what they had learned about each other. She was sent here to study life on Earth, not to invade, Taiho insisted. Her people are scientists, not warriors. Then why did she send that signal? a stern general asked. To prevent war, Rena answered. My people would have come looking for me with weapons if they thought I was being harmed. A scientist stepped forward. The energy pulse she sent was like nothing we've ever seen. It contained massive amounts of data. Information about me, Rena said. About Taiho. About our bonding. The questioning continued until dawn. Then suddenly, all the electronics in the room failed. Lights went out. Radio stopped working. They're here, Rena said simply. Everyone rushed outside. Above the military camp, the sky seemed to open. A ship far larger than Rena's small craft descended silently. It was beautiful, silver and blue, shaped like a giant leaf. Soldiers raised their weapons, but the generals ordered them to hold fire. The ship hovered 50 feet above the ground. A beam of light shot down and 3 figures appeared within it. They looked like Rena but taller, with more elaborate clothing. Rena stepped forward, pulling Taiho with her. The First Council of Sora, she explained. They received my message. The me. 3 aliens approached. Like Rena, they each had 3 eyes that studied the humans carefully. The tallest one spoke, and Rena's translator conveyed the words, "We come in peace, as Rena and her chosen mate have shown is possible." Chosen mate? The general asked, looking at Taiho. Taiho stood straighter. Yes. We have formed a bond that transcends our different worlds. The Soran leader nodded. This bonding proves our species can cooperate. It is why we offer alliance, instead of conflict. In the days that followed, the world changed. News of the peaceful first contact spread globally. Scientists from Earth and Sora began sharing knowledge. The Soran medical technology offered cures for human diseases, while Earth's genetic diversity provided hope for the Soran's survival. 1 month later, Taiho stood with Rena at the entrance to the great ship. He had agreed to travel to her world as Earth's first ambassador. Are you ready? Rena asked, her 3 eyes glowing with emotion. A new world, new horizons, Taiho said, smiling, as long as we're together. Hand in hand, they stepped into the light beam. As Earth grew smaller below them, Rena placed her hand on Taiho's chest, completing their bonding ritual. 2 worlds, she whispered. 1 future, Taiho finished as the stars opened before them.